on KTN Prime.
Some countries have already agreed to provide troops. Others are still considering.
Kenya won't rush troops into South Sudan, government says.
Exposed. Police syndicate to extort money from motorists.
Sometimes he wakes up in the morning and he can't walk because he's got pain. And when he's examined, he's found to have broken one or other of his bones.
Rare bone disease that has made boy too fragile to move.
Tunaishi sehemu hili kwa muda mrefu, miaka 100 na.
Nowhere to call home. Government moves in to evict families from Embobut Forest.
This is KTN Prime with Yvonne Okwara and Wilson Buru.
Well, a very good evening to you and welcome to the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. This is most definitely KTN Prime, and if you have been on social media, you know that tonight we have the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the Interior Ministry, Joseph Olelenku, with us.
Indeed, and we will be talking about matter security in this country, including some measures that his ministry is putting in place to keep Kenyans secure. So do keep your questions coming in and do stay tuned for that. But first, let's get to our top stories tonight. Kenya will not deploy troops to the war-ravaged South Sudan despite a United Nations request to beef up a peacekeeping mission.
Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed indicated that Kenya had been approached to boost the 55,000 troops required to keep tranquility in the world's newest nation, but that decision was yet to be sanctioned.
Regional nations have approved a 5,500 strong military force for war on South Sudan to end weeks of bitter fighting that has devastated the young nation. But Kenyan troops will be missing in the headcount. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Secretary Amina Mohammed indicated that despite being approached to deploy its military, Kenya is yet to decide on sending its soldiers to contain the skirmishes in Africa's youngest nation.
Some countries have already agreed to provide troops. Others are still considering the provision of troops. I think countries like Rwanda have been approached to provide troops. We have also been approached to provide troops. So have many other countries.
Kenya deployed its troops in South Sudan to evacuate its citizens trapped in their fighting. The decision to deploy enforcement to South Sudan was sanctioned by the UN Security Council. Uganda has already sent its troops to South Sudan, fighting alongside government troops loyal to the South Sudanese President Salva Kiir, a move that has strained peace negotiations to end the bloodbath.
So that's what I can tell you about the presence of Uganda, the protection of installations and some of these sites and venues is something that IGAD itself welcomed because it saw it as an opportunity to provide assistance.
Rebel Chief Riek Machar has demanded for the withdrawal of all Ugandan forces, claiming Ugandan fighter jets have assaulted their bases and questioning the neutrality of IGAD as a mediator.
Are we going to see troops in the Republic of South Sudan? Well, if the resolution of the Security Council has to be implemented, then yes, you'll see 5,500 soldiers on the territory of the Republic of South Sudan to support the monitoring, the verification of cessation of hostilities.
Thousands have been killed and 500,000 civilians forced to flee the fighting between troops loyal to President Salva Kiir and rebels allied to his sacked deputy Riek Machar. IGAD is trying to get the two sides to reach a ceasefire deal in Addis Ababa.
We have made our contribution. I think our contribution is well regarded, it's well accepted, and it has been visible. We have supported the process in the DRC. We have supported the process in southern Sudan.
Fighting has spiraled into ethnic killings between members of Kiir's dominant ethnic group and Machar's Nuer dialect. An emergency regional summit of IGAD leaders planned for Thursday in Juba has been cancelled. But the same issues of striking a deal will be discussed at the Africa Union in Addis Ababa next week. Samugina, KTN.
Right, now the Eldoret-Nakuru highway is considered to be full of dangerous black spots. But now the road is becoming famous for something else: corruption. Several people have fallen victim to rogue police officers who flag down motorists, charge them hefty fines for alleged traffic offences, then disappear with the money. Najma Ismail has the details.
Drivers plying the Eldoret-Nakuru highway are now becoming vulnerable to a suspected police cartel of extortion on the trumped-up charges of overspeeding. It is on this road last year that Munene Karaoke, not his real name, was driving when he was flagged down by police officers as he approached Nakuru town. The officers asked him for his driving license, but after producing it, he was accused of overspeeding.
Wakaniambia gari yangu ilikuwa inaenda 135 kilometers per hour. Na ni isa Prado. Na nilijaribu sana, hata wenye tulikuwa nao walikuwa wananiambia tutachelewa. Lakini kwa kustuka niliambiwa gari yangu ilikuwa inaenda 135. Na hakuna kitu nilionyeshwa ati gari ilikuwa inaenda 135.
Karaoke says that he tried to plead with the officers, but they were very hostile. A few hours later, he was taken to court where he was charged with overspeeding. He was handed a fine of 20,000 shillings or 4 months in prison.
Nikaenda kwa M-Pesa, nikatoa 20,000. Wakanisindikiza. Ule mmoja ambaye alikuwa amenisindikiza mpaka kwa M-Pesa, tukaja naye mpaka hapo reporting desk. Nikapatia mwingine 20,000. Wakaniambia sasa hata tutakuweka cell, wenda ukalie pale kwa kiti. Nikawekwa mahali, nikaambiwa sasa ngoja receipt yako.
After buying his freedom, Karaoke was suspicious of the receipt issued to him outside the courtroom. That's when he decided to report the matter to the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Madam ambaye nilikuta akaniambia mimi niende huko nikachunguze, niende Nakuru nikachunguze. Nikaona sasa kufika hapo siwezi imesidi sababu mimi mwenyewe ndiye nilidhulumiwa.
Karaoke says his friend was in the same situation a few days later and was fined 9,000 shillings. His friend was then given a receipt of 5,000 shillings with no accountability of where the 4,000 shillings went to. The office of the Nakuru County Commander acknowledged receiving complaints of similar nature and has asked the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to fully investigate the matter. Najma Ismail, KTN.
Now that story forms the basis of our BQ tonight, and we are asking, do you think police are using roadblocks to extort money from motorists? Do you think the police are using roadblocks to extort money from motorists?
You can get in touch with us on SMS. That's 22155. Send your comments starting with a yes or a no response. We would love to hear from you. You can also get in touch with us on Twitter at KTN Kenya, at Wilson_Mburu, and at Yvonne Okwara, and we will be sampling your comments throughout this live newscast.
17 illegal immigrants of Somali descent were arrested today on arrival in Nairobi from Wajir. The 17 are said to have sneaked out of refugee camps into a Nairobi-bound bus. Petikialo now reports on the desperate foreigners to get valid Kenyan documents by any means necessary and the immigration lapses that allow this to happen.
The end of the road. After traveling more than 600 kilometers from Wajir to Nairobi undetected, these 17 illegal immigrants landed straight into the long arm of the law. This arrest, however, is just a drop in an ocean of many similar incidents. In-depth investigations have revealed that the country's porous borders continue to leave Kenya in a vulnerable position against terrorists. A report on the Westgate attack implicates the Immigration Department for regular collapse of its systems.
The people that came to this country, if they used their passports and got Kenyan visas, how were they vetted? Did they take them through the thorough screening?
Paul Wafula, an investigative reporter with the Standard newspaper, conducted a series of investigations into Kenya's immigration loopholes. In his report, he followed an illegal immigrant who successfully secured valid Kenyan documents by bribing immigration officials.
To establish that the lady in question was actually an alien, and she gave me her alien card, which I went and counter-checked at the refugee camp, and they actually told me, yes, this one is a refugee, and she has been allowed to go to Garissa for some medical checkup. What she was actually doing was she was going to look for a national ID. We followed the paces, right from the ground. Of course, she had already gotten someone whom she was staying with who had already posed as the relative. After some time, she actually got her ID.
It is estimated that at least 3,000 aliens are arrested every year by Kenyan authorities. Thousands others are, however, able to cheat the system and settle anywhere in Kenya. According to intelligence, aliens get into the country using footpaths through Kenya's porous borders. Some go to refugee camps to seek asylum and are later interviewed, and their fingerprints and photos are taken for registration. However, there are those who opt not to be registered as refugees, choosing to seek accommodation with friends and relatives. Now, this is usually the group that hopes to acquire Kenyan identification cards. The illegal immigrants then sneak into Garissa town, where through the help of brokers and village elders, they are able to acquire documentation. The price, 25 to 30,000 Kenya shillings. For those who are registered as refugees, the process is a little bit different. They have to travel to Nairobi, where errant officials at immigration either delete their names from the refugee list or prevent the refugee requests from going through the search stage, where fingerprints are normally verified.
You find like a gentleman I was seated next to. What he does when he gets close to a roadblock, he actually alights with the tout. So when the police stop them, he alights with the tout, and he comes as if he's checking something at the back. So you more or less the police will think, or you will actually assume he's a mechanic or is part of the team. But that is his brief. He has been told anytime the police stop them, he is right at the back of the tout.
This challenge of illegal immigrants and the loopholes within the immigration department has made the war against terror very difficult for the security agencies in Kenya. Betty Kyalo, KTN.
And indeed, as you may have noticed, our bulletin tonight is focusing on matters security, and the Interior Ministry is embarking on a rapid results initiative program to try and make security a lot better in this country. And tonight we're joined by Joseph Olelenko, who's the Cabinet Secretary in the Interior Ministry. Thank you for joining us this evening. Let's start by talking about the RRI program and its intended purposes. What deliverables and tangibles the Kenyan will be able to get from this?
You notice that on 21st of September last year, terrorists walked into Westgate, killed people, maimed others, and hurt our country. From that day, the game changed. We are more than ever determined to get these terrorists, and we will get them. We are pursuing them in our borders, outside our borders, wherever they may be. And as we sit here, a number of Kenyan men and women are in Somalia, are in every corner of this country to get these terrorists. Okay. The RRI initiative is basically to reduce crime, to deal with terrorism, to look at the issuance of our travel documents, to deal with the issue of police reforms, and a number of activities and events that are meant to reduce crime in this country.
Okay, what tangibles will the ordinary citizen start to see once this is put in place? Because like you mentioned, in the country today, terrorism is the biggest threat to security in the country.
A number of tangible are already feasible happening. One, you're seeing our efforts to reform the National Police Service through the vetting exercise. We have already issued the guidelines for county policing authority. This is basically to enhance community policing in line with the Nyumba Kumi framework. These initiatives are meant to make it easy for Kenyans to deal with the police, to work with the police. We know it is easy for a group of Kenyans or individuals to approach police and make their demand, as opposed to individual people. So on that front, we are happy that reforming the police is an ongoing exercise. We have started in earnest, and we are sure it's going to yield result. A number of current information we are getting are from Kenyans. Close to 50% on information leads are from citizens, but we want to improve that. We want the citizens to identify they have a role to play in enhancing security amongst themselves.
All right, and we'll get to some of those issues in just a moment, what the citizens can do to assist. But while you're here, it would be important for us to talk about some of these security threats we've had in the country recently. Most recently is the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport recently. And what really happened? We heard first of a light bulb, and then we've heard of a bullet-riddled body that was in a vehicle in Shaurimoyo with, explosives in that vehicle. It was rather unclear what happened at the JKIA.
I think for us to look at the KIA, we need to look at the event at a slightly higher level. Rather than us dealing with the bulb, let us deal at the event of terrorism itself. Here was an attempt terrorist attack, but it was foiled. I think we will do country justice and our security people to show and to say that while the attempt was made, they acted fast enough to prevent it from happening. The individuals killed were actually terrorists who attempted to attack the airport. And therefore, the bulb event at this level, I would like to look at it at a higher level, that this was an attempt terrorist attack, but it was foiled. I think I want to recognize and appreciate the effort of our security personnel who foiled the attack.
So what happened at the JKIA was a terrorist attack that you say was foiled by the security forces.
It was an attempted terrorist attack.
All right, let's get to then communication issues within the Ministry of Interior. And when it comes to crises such as this one, why would we be so quick to rush to the media when we hear from the Inspector General to say it's a light bulb when it turns out it's a terrorist attack and then there's a body somewhere else? Because incidents like these, Mr. Secretary,
who rushed to
confuse
the media, Yvonne?
Well, the Inspector General did say it was a light bulb and, that fell into a bucket, and then that caused a fire that was there when indeed it was a terrorist attack.
Do you want to look at the bulb, or do you want to look at the efforts of the officers who foiled the attack?
We're looking at the information that is given to the public and how that makes them feel safe and secure.
For me, at the policy level, I would like to see it as a foiled terrorist attack. And to me, on that, I want to appreciate the officers who preempted it and who stopped it from happening.
That's right. But it is a very important process, especially when you're trying to get the public in on initiatives like the Nyumba Kumi initiative. Let's talk about that. When information is not forthcoming in the right way and we see statements being changed, then the public start to feel unsafe, and then they start to think, well, do the security forces know what they're dealing with?
I think when we launched the task force on Nyumba Kumi, headed by the very able Joseph Kagodi, the response from Kenyans has been overwhelming in a positive perspective. But of course, we had to go back to the drawing board and put structures in place for people to share. You must understand that this is really a philosophy. It is not about 10 people. It is about asking Kenyans that when you are living in an environment, you need to know the people you are living with. You need to know people or happenings around your environment, because terrorists and criminals are not ghosts. These are individuals who live with us.
Indeed.
And therefore, we are telling Kenyans, please know your environment. Please know the people you live with. And when we do that, we think a number of Kenyans have positively accepted this, and I think it's really a positive thing.
Do you think
we
so?
We have just circulated to all the county commissioners the framework in which we want the Nyumba Kumi to operate. Well, we are calling it Nyumba Kumi. It's really not about 10, and therefore, gradually but surely, it is taking root.
Okay, let me ask about that, because in the villages it will be the elders that will sort of bring the people together. But in the urban centers, many people are asking, so how is this going to be effected? How will the Nyumba Kumis be brought together?
I think it is even in the urban centers that it has gotten roots. If you look at a number of estates in Nairobi, they have what they call gated estate. And a number of them are actually telling us, come and see the model we already have. So even before we launch this, citizens have already noticed they have a collective responsibility to their security. And therefore, in the cities, it is actually more organized, more structured than you would otherwise. But we are saying there's no single way of doing it. It depends really on the environment, because look at
so
the
there is no structure that we will get from the government where somebody will come and help.
These are the guidelines.
Okay.
Once we get the guidelines, then the environment dictates how it is going to be implemented.
All right. How will this work, considering community policing in the past has not been very successful? People do not feel that they are secure enough to give information to the police when they see suspicious activity
must accept
happening.
that since independence, there has never been reforms in the police. We have just begun these reforms, and they started a few years ago. We are entrenching those reforms. Gradually, Kenyans are building confidence in the police, and people are starting to feel comfortable to deal with the police. And therefore, the Constitution provides for the county policing authorities. It is actually intended to provide a framework in which the citizens deal with the police and work together. So I think as we now move forward reforming this police service, Kenyans will start identify and see that police are their friends and partners in security. That way they will not fear. Before, there was no mechanism to engage. Now, the Constitution has provided for that mechanism.
Okay.
For us, it is to implement that, to entrench it, and to ask Kenyans to accept it.
All right, and we do hope that those reforms will also help with the law ones. We've just aired a story about fake receipts being issued by police officers in Eldoret, on the Eldoret-Nakuru highway. So for a lot of Kenyans, that mistrust between the police and the citizens.
From me, we have a great police force. We have a few rotten apples in their midst. We are already weeding them out. We can already feel, we can see, a number of Kenyans are developing confidence with their police. And with these reforms, the police are going to be friends of the people, and Kenya is going to be a secure country.
Okay, I'd like to keep you here with us for just a while longer because we have a story talking about the state of security, and this is something Joy Doreen Bera put together, just talking about the challenges facing the Interior Ministry. Watch this, and then we'll be back with the Cabinet Secretary.
The Interior Ministry is preparing for the launch of the Rapid Response Initiative in the face of challenges bedeviling the nation's security.
Be vigilant about suspicious individuals who may be having intentions of getting involved in terrorist activities.
With Mombasa, Garissa, Nairobi and even Bungoma struggling with both terror-related activity and local crime, the security agencies have their hands full.
Hata leo asubuhi kuna mama ametoka huko na pistol anakimbia naye kwa mkono na mguu tupu, na mapolisi wako pale na amepita naye hivyo hivyo, ameenda mpaka sijui aliendea wapi, na alikuwa naye kwa mkono. Kwa hivyo mimi naona upande wa security bado tuko nyuma kabisa.
Wako 50-50. Wananchi na polisi, ukipiga simu pia waji kwa haraka. Yani watu sasa haieleweki.
But analysts say it's time the ordinary citizens played their part too.
The public must be aware that this country is ours, so that it's a responsibility of all of us at least to safeguard and make a secure place for Kenya.
While community policing remains a major challenge among national security agencies, it is alleged that internal wrangles within these national agencies is an even much bigger problem.
By the time they are going to realize this insecurity is too late. And yes, when the things out of hand, they work together, all the security apparatus, including the police, the GSU, the AP, the military. At that time, it's things are out of hand. So what I'm saying is, in order to have, it's a collective responsibility, both the government machineries and the public work together.
Initiatives like Nyumba Kumi are some of the mechanisms put in place to curb crime in the country, but the perceived laxity from citizens to voluntarily monitor their surroundings is a challenge too. Joy Doreen Bera, KTN Prime.
Thanks for that, Joy. Let's carry on with our conversation. Like you've seen in that clip, it's just talking about the challenges of community policing. Again, let's go to how different the Nyumba Kumi initiative will be. And again, I will emphasize building trust between police and the citizens to the point where they feel they can come to the authorities and give information.
Yvonne, about 3 days ago, we had a meeting called by religious leaders, particularly the Muslim from all sections of the Islam religion. And these leaders called for a forum to discuss about criminal activities being perpetuated in the mosque, in the country, in the name of the region. A number of them, or rather the forum was called because they noticed that individuals are hiding under religion to commit crimes. They came out very powerfully to say that this is not Islam. Some criminals have actually taken over mosques, took control over the mosques, and displaced genuine imams. We came out, we joined them, we supported them, and we continue to support that initiative. That is an indication of citizens saying enough is enough. You know, for many time, or for a long time, this radicalization seemed to focus on Islam and alleged marginalization, alleged mistreatment, and alleged that. The Muslims came out, genuine ones, and say, this is not Islam. These are individuals trained on a very narrow line of Islam, radicalized, and meant to come and cause mayhem. And they said no. A number of European missions sponsored the workshop. The Interior Ministry came in to support. I gave a speech myself, so is the Inspector General and the Principal Secretary in the ministry, showing the Muslims are now coming to join us to fight this radicalization. We are very, very happy about that development because it removed the perception that Muslims are untargeted. They're not.
Okay.
They're Kenyans.
So you've given an example of areas in which it is working. I just want to read for you some feedback that we're getting on our bulletin tonight. Brian Achila says, to win public perception and gain acceptance, you have to win hearts and be truthful. You cannot cry wolf and still want to be respected. Going back again to communication, do you believe that communication of information during a time of crisis, being timely, being truthful, of course we understand there might be some things that may be on a need-to-know basis, that you may not share everything, but in certain cases just telling citizens this is what is happening and this is what we're doing about it, do you think that could be part of the ways in which to win citizens over to assist the police?
This is my assurance to Kenyans. For a long time, the Ministry of Internal Security, as it was called before, would not give sufficient information in the name of security or for security reasons. We have deliberately come out open to share with Kenyans what really we feel is useful for Kenyans.
But sometimes, Mr. Secretary, it is not always truthful.
Let it not be assumed that we have anything to hide. We are very, very honest about the security of our country.
Let me put it this way.
This is something very dear to us.
I know, I understand that. Allow me to interject. Let me put it this way. It's not that you're not forthcoming. Sometimes it just doesn't seem like the Interior Ministry knows what's happening. We have one statement, we have a conflicting one. Many will remember you for the statement regarding mattresses at the Westgate, and then it turned out to be something else. We're hearing of light bulbs, but it just sometimes seems from the communication strategy that even the ministry doesn't know what's going on.
While communication can be dealt with and will be dealt with, I think it is important also for you, the media, to up the game. Why would you want to focus about a bulb rather than a foiled terrorist attack? I think really the bigger picture,
that's not about the media, it's about the person that actually said it, and the Inspector General tweeted it himself.
The bigger picture for me is at the policy level. While I respect the Inspector General, but you must understand at which level am I operating. I'm operating at the policy.
But he operates under you.
At this policy level, I am personally delighted that our officers were able to foil the terrorist attack.
Okay.
And they have done so many a times. Let me assure Kenyans, including my brother who just tweeted, we will faithfully give you correct information to the best of our knowledge.
Okay.
And we want you to become partners with us in this.
All right.
And therefore, be assured that we will not hide anything in the name of security unless it is really for your good, that we keep it so that we deal with it.
Okay.
But
all
we
right.
will be truthful to you. We are your servants as public servants, and we will share with you the information we think is useful for you to know.
Okay, all right.
Take the assurance, we are doing everything possible, and we are already seeing actually crime reducing. I know that may not be very believable, but let's
right.
watch it happen.
Okay, I have to leave it at that with you tonight. We thank you so much for making the time, and we do wish you the best with the Rapid Results Initiative as you launch that in the coming days.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to another discussion, even as we leave it there with Joseph Olelenku, who's the Cabinet Secretary for Interior. If you watched Jeff Koinange live just a short while ago, there was supposed to be two people on the bench. Jeff, we were supposed to have Moses Wetangula, who's the minority in Senate, minority leader, and Aden Duale, who's the majority. We didn't see that happen. Jeff, what's going on?
Both House Majority Leader Aden Duale and Senate-elect Minority Leader Moses Wetangula, they both agreed to come on the show, but Senator Wetangula refused to be on the same bench with House Majority Leader Duale. In the end, Duale was the gentleman of the two. He stepped aside. But we're not just going to let him away just like that. He is with me right here. We'll talk for a couple of minutes, and tomorrow he'll have his equal opportunity. Mheshimiwa, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
I owe you an apology, first of all. Sorry about what happened. But at the end of the day, it's television, and it's never that serious. So my question is, why would Senator Wetangula refuse to debate you? Why?
Oh, yes. I'm the House Majority Leader. I lead about 216 members of Parliament. He leads, we call him Kiongozi wa Wachache. So one, he leads a few. Secondly, he leads a party of 14 MPs. I'm a founder member of a United Republican Party, 75 members of Parliament. So we don't play in the same league. And I think he realized that the bench will be very hot.
He realized.
And the Jubilee government, as a leader, from where I sit, we are ready for any dialogue.
Why don't they want to dialogue, Mheshimiwa? Why?
Because they are used to propaganda and falsehood. And we are there to tell the country that they cannot hang on. The country has to move.
Yeah. When it came to a so-called assassination attempt, you came out and you said, show me the bullets. Oh, did Wetangula shot himself?
Oh, that's called the magical bullet. No hole, no bullet hole, no cartridge. It's a serious matter. It's like the U.S. The
Kennedy assassination.
The Kennedy assassination.
Yes.
The magical bullet.
Yes.
But it's not Duale, it's not Wetangula. It's the independent institution mandated by the Constitution. The Inspector General of Police, who is saying this was a matter of hitting a billboard. And that matter lies with Evans Kidero, the governor of Nairobi, and the owner of the billboard. I mean, you can't compare that with J.M. Kariuki, Robert Owuko. Those were serious political assassinations.
Yeah. But he's sticking to his story.
No, let him face the Inspector General. The truth has come out.
What about the allegations this past weekend by court leaders, Mheshimiwa, that Uhuruto were rigged into office? Are those serious allegations?
Jeff, on the 4th of March, Kenyans went to the polls. There was no military coup. There was no coup. Kenyans went to the polls. They elected their leaders in all levels, including the president. The Constitution provided for any aggrieved party to go to the Supreme Court. They went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court unanimously, the 7 Supreme Court judges led by the Chief Justice, a man I respect a lot, says Uhuru and William Ruto won fairly.
Yeah.
So they have no agenda. They want to stick to the military, to NSIS, to IEBC, to Churchill stealing the password, the one time they say. But I'm telling them, even disbanding the IEBC, the Constitution has given the roadmap.
By the way,
you cannot disband IEBC in a funeral.
By the way, Mheshimiwa, it's the same IEBC that declared him a winner. So I'm wondering, what's the correlation here?
Jeff, the core leadership has lost the direction. When the IEBC declared Mutula Kilonzo Jr., they said, this is the best IEBC. When Wetangula regained his seat, they said the elections were free and fair. That is the same IEBC that they're saying that rigged them out. But I think from where I sit, is part of leadership that wants to hang on. They want to convince their supporters. Well, they have cheated them for too long. In 1997, in 2007, in 2013. And this is exactly what the Labour Party under Kinnock went through. And the Labour Party said we need fresh leaders. So my advice, free advice, because I'm in a very stable coalition. My free advice today, if I'm their consultant, I'll tell them change the leadership, go back to the drawing board, change everybody, go back to the people, not false propaganda. But tomorrow I will talk about the state of the nation.
You want to come back tomorrow?
Yes, 1 hour state of the.
Are you sure you want to come back?
Yes.
And you're going to answer all this?
Yes.
And the psychophancy questions?
Psychophancy. And let me tell you.
No. Let's save it for tomorrow.
No, let me tell you.
Let's save it for tomorrow.
Let me tell you.
Mheshimiwa.
I am a sycophant of a sitting president. Not a sycophant of a loser in the streets.
Yvonne Wilson, what can one say after that? Back to you.
Indeed, that will definitely be a show tomorrow, but it would have been nice to see the two of them on the bench at the same time. But it is what it is. We'll catch up with you again tomorrow, Jeff. Thank you for that. Wilson?
Well, let's move on to a dilemma of another kind, where the family of a young man is struggling to strike a balance to be able to live in such a way that he doesn't break all bones at once. This is because the young man is so fragile that almost every small knock on his body results in a bone fracture. KTN's Wilkis Tanyabo has the story of that very rare disease.
Curled up in his hospital bed, Stephen Mwangi seems younger than he is. But his eyes betray him. At 19, Stephen is recovering from yet another broken limb, his 9th broken bone. As a child, Stephen realized that if he exerted himself even slightly, he would end up breaking a bone. This discovery altered life as he knew it.
Kwenda shule nikicheza naletwa hapa, nikaacha na mchezo ili nikambe nisicheze.
Young Mwangi chose to enroll in a boarding school in order to avoid walking over long distances. He enlisted the help of friends to help him carry out difficult tasks. But despite his best efforts, this year began with him in a hospital bed again, this time because he had broken a hip bone. Stephen is one of a set of triplets in a family of 7 children. Doctors who treated him early on made an initial diagnosis of osteogenesis imperfecta. In layman's terms, imperfect formation of the bone, meaning Stephen's bones are far weaker than a normal person's. It is a genetic condition that no other member of his family suffers.
Sometimes he wakes up in the morning and he can't walk because he's got pain. And when he's examined, he's found to have broken one or other of his bones. His protein component of the bones is not strong enough.
Because the bones break so often, Stephen is shorter than many of his peers. He often moves around in a wheelchair as he cannot trust his bones to support him. Early in the year, doctors carried out an operation to place metal rods on both hips to hold the broken bones in proper position. But there are only so many surgeries that Stephen can undergo, and doctors are now gearing up to take a more radical approach.
Our team here, I think I had ordered something which we think we can use, but it is still subject to confirmation that will it work in his best interest in the long term.
It is a costly undertaking for a boy whose mother earns a living doing odd jobs. If successful, the medical approach could give Stephen a chance at a normal life.
Mwangi hata saa hii akitibiwa aende nyumbani, sijui kesho atakuwaje, kwa sababu hata iko siku tulikuwa tumetoka hapa Kenyatta, kufika nyumbani wiki moja kuisha, tukarudi hapa Kenyatta. Amefujika mguu.
Even from his hospital bed, Stephen Mwangi remains optimistic, living for the day when he will be able to enjoy simple pleasures such as running and playing without fear of suffering injury. Wilkis Tanyabo, KTN at the Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi.